The judgment. The council chamber had transformed overnight. Where before there had been 12 seats for the council members, now thousands of viewing platforms surrounded the central space, each occupied by representatives from the 3,417 species of the galactic sovereignty. Zara had never felt so small. The human delegation stood on a raised platform at the chamber's center, exposed to view from all sides. Beings of every conceivable form watched them, some with recognizable eyes, others with senses humanity couldn't even name. The weight of their attention was almost physical. Coordinator Lysanthir materialized above them all, his starlight form blazing so brightly it hurt to look at directly. "We are gathered," his voice resonated through the vast space, "to render judgment upon the species known as humanity of the planet Earth. They have undergone the 3 trials. Now they face the assembly." Zara felt Ambassador Chin tense beside her. This was his moment, the diplomat stepping forward to represent their species before the galaxy. But it was Adjudicator Vrextal who spoke first, the insectoid's voice buzzing with something that might have been grudging respect. The humans demonstrated courage beyond expectation. When faced with the choice between their own survival and that of strangers, they chose to sacrifice everything. Captain Okonkwo and her crew proved that humans can value life beyond their own species. This is remarkable for such a young civilization. Evaluator ZYX's geometric form rotated slowly. The humans demonstrated ingenuity that surpassed our own greatest minds. Dr. Okoye solved in hours what we could not solve in centuries. She thought beyond our limitations because her species has not yet acquired those same limitations. Her perspective, born from humanity's relative primitiveness, became their strength. The judgment. The council chamber had transformed overnight. Where before there had been 12 seats for the council members, now thousands of viewing platforms surrounded the central space, each occupied by representatives from the 3,417 species of the galactic sovereignty. Zara had never felt so small. The human delegation stood on a raised platform at the chamber's center, exposed to view from all sides. Beings of every conceivable form watched them, some with recognizable eyes, others with senses humanity couldn't even name. The weight of their attention was almost physical. Coordinator Lysanthir materialized above them all, his starlight form blazing so brightly it hurt to look at directly. "We are gathered," his voice resonated through the vast space, "to render judgment upon the species known as humanity of the planet Earth. They have undergone the 3 trials. Now they face the assembly." Zara felt Ambassador Chin tense beside her. This was his moment, the diplomat stepping forward to represent their species before the galaxy. But it was Adjudicator Vrextal who spoke first, the insectoid's voice buzzing with something that might have been grudging respect. The humans demonstrated courage beyond expectation. When faced with the choice between their own survival and that of strangers, they chose to sacrifice everything. Captain Okonkwo and her crew proved that humans can value life beyond their own species. This is remarkable for such a young civilization. Evaluator ZYX's geometric form rotated slowly. The humans demonstrated ingenuity that surpassed our own greatest minds. Dr. Okoye solved in hours what we could not solve in centuries. She thought beyond our limitations because her species has not yet acquired those same limitations. Her perspective, born from humanity's relative primitiveness, became their strength. The judgment. The council chamber had transformed overnight. Where before there had been 12 seats for the council members, now thousands of viewing platforms surrounded the central space, each occupied by representatives from the 3,417 species of the galactic sovereignty. Zara had never felt so small. The human delegation stood on a raised platform at the chamber's center, exposed to view from all sides. Beings of every conceivable form watched them, some with recognizable eyes, others with senses humanity couldn't even name. The weight of their attention was almost physical. Coordinator Lysanthir materialized above them all, his starlight form blazing so brightly it hurt to look at directly. "We are gathered," his voice resonated through the vast space, "to render judgment upon the species known as humanity of the planet Earth. They have undergone the 3 trials. Now they face the assembly." Zara felt Ambassador Chin tense beside her. This was his moment, the diplomat stepping forward to represent their species before the galaxy. But it was Adjudicator Vrextal who spoke first, the insectoid's voice buzzing with something that might have been grudging respect. The humans demonstrated courage beyond expectation. When faced with the choice between their own survival and that of strangers, they chose to sacrifice everything. Captain Okonkwo and her crew proved that humans can value life beyond their own species. This is Remarkable for such a young civilization. Evaluator ZYX's geometric form rotated slowly. The humans demonstrated ingenuity that surpassed our own greatest minds. Dr. Okoye solved in hours what we could not solve in centuries. She thought beyond our limitations because her species has not yet acquired those same limitations. Her perspective, born from humanity's relative primitiveness, became their strength. She didn't wait for permission to continue. Because we've been alone in the dark for all of our history. Every civilization on Earth developed independently, and most of the time, meeting another civilization meant conflict. We learned to be warriors because we had to be. But we also learned something else. Lucas Brennan activated his data pad, projecting images of his own. The International Space Station. The United Nations. Humans of different ethnicities working together. The Paris Climate Accord. Medical volunteers in disaster zones. Scientists sharing research across borders. We learned to cooperate, Lucas said, his young voice gaining confidence. Yeah, we're not perfect. We fight. We make mistakes. But look at this. He highlighted a specific image, the Voyager Golden Record. 48 years ago, before we knew anyone was listening, we sent a message to the stars. Not a threat. Not a warning. But music, greetings in 55 languages, and images of our world. We reached out in hope. Dr. Okoye added, and in the last 60 years that you've been watching, look at what we've accomplished. We've connected our entire planet through communication networks. We've begun reversing environmental damage. We've established international laws prohibiting the use of our worst weapons. We've started looking beyond Earth not for conquest, but for knowledge and survival. We're learning, honored council. Faster than you might think. Assessor Quellen's colors shifted to something that might have been contemplation. The humans defend themselves with passion. But passion is not proof. You are still violent. You still harm your world. What makes you different from the 17 other species we've eliminated before they could spread their destructiveness beyond their planets? The chamber fell silent. Ambassador Chen looked at Zara, his expression grave. This was the moment. The real question beneath all others. Why should humanity be allowed to survive? It was Professor Volkov who spoke, his voice soft but carrying through the vast space. Because we care that we're imperfect. Because we question ourselves. Because we know we're flawed and we're trying to do better. Tell me, honored council, how many species have you judged? And how many stood before you and admitted their failures while still hoping for the chance to grow beyond them? Coordinator Lysanther stood, his starlight form blazing brighter. Tomorrow you will face the 3 trials. Survive them and we will reconsider our assessment. Fail and your species will be quietly erased from the cosmos. There will be no warning, no negotiation. Earth will simply cease to be. The being's eyes, infinite and ancient, fixed on Zara. Captain Okonkwo, do you understand the stakes? Zara met that cosmic gaze without flinching. I do, Coordinator. And we're ready. As the delegation was escorted from the chamber, Raj whispered to Zara, Are we? Ready, I mean? Zara watched the council members conferring behind them, their forms shimmering with light and energy beyond human comprehension. We'd better be, she replied. Because there's no going back now. The trial of courage. They were given no time to rest. Within an hour of leaving the council chamber, the herald appeared in their quarters aboard the Meridian Explorer, its crystalline form refracting the ship's lights into rainbow patterns across the walls. The first trial begins now, it announced. Captain Zara Okonkwo will represent humanity. The trial of courage tests not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. Captain, you will proceed alone. Zara exchanged glances with her team. Ambassador Chin opened his mouth to protest, but she shook her head. I've got this. Zara, Dr. Okoye started. Amara, if they want to see courage, sending someone who's terrified won't help. Zara managed a tight smile. Besides, this is what I trained for. Going into danger while everyone else stays safe. The herald extended what might have been a limb and reality twisted. Zara found herself standing in a different chamber, smaller than the council hall but no less intimidating. The walls displayed statistics scrolling in languages she couldn't read, but occasional Earth images appeared. Military bases, weapon systems, tactical scenarios. Coordinator Lysanther materialized before her, along with Adjudicator Vrextal and 2 other council members she hadn't been introduced to. Captain Okonkwo, Lysanther began, before you is a scenario. It is not hypothetical. It is happening in real time on a planet designated as Kepler 442b, approximately 1200 light-years from Earth. A colony of 4 million beings from 5 different council species faces extinction from an approaching asteroid impact. Their planetary defense system has failed. A holographic display showed the planet, beautiful and blue-green like Earth. The asteroid appeared as a red dot, trajectory calculated in real time. Impact in 47 minutes. Why are you showing me this? Zara asked, though dread was already forming in her stomach. Because, Vrextal buzzed, your ship contains technology we provided for your journey. That technology includes a weapon system far beyond your current development. It is capable of destroying the asteroid. However, using it will require making a choice. Another council member spoke, a being that looked like living metal given form. The weapon must be manually armed. Your ship's crew has been given the specifications, but they cannot activate it remotely. You must return to your ship, arm the weapon yourself and deploy it within the time limit. Then send me back, Zara said immediately. What's the catch? Lysanther's form dimmed slightly. The weapon requires a power surge that will permanently damage your ship's faster-than-light drive. You will be able to save the colony, but you will never reach home. Your delegation will survive, but you will spend the rest of your lives drifting in space, decades away from Earth. You will die before seeing your world again. The words hit Zara like a physical blow. Never go home. Never see Earth again. Never see her sister's new baby, whom she'd promised to meet when she returned. Never walk in a forest or swim in an ocean or feel rain on her face. Why? She asked, her voice tight. Why does this choice have to be made? Because, Vrextal said, we need to know what humans value. Your species has historically sacrificed strangers for the safety of your own. You go to war to protect your interests. You close borders to preserve resources. Will you sacrifice everything for beings you've never met, from species you just learned exist? Zara's mind raced. How do I know this is real? How do I know you're not just testing whether I'll fall for a simulation? The living metal being stepped forward. I am Monitor Kael'thon. My home colony is on that planet. My mate and 3 offspring are there. I assure you, Captain, this is devastatingly real. The raw emotion in Kael'thon's voice erased Zara's doubts. She looked at the display, watching the countdown tick away. 43 minutes. If I don't do this, they die? Every last soul, Lysanther confirmed. And you go home, returning to Earth as heroes who passed the trials through inaction. No one will ever know you had this choice. Zara thought of her crew. Young Lucas, brilliant and idealistic. Dr. Okoye with her infectious curiosity. Professor Volkov with his gentle wisdom. Ambassador Chen with his dedication to peace. Raj, loyal Raj, who'd been by her side for 5 years. They'd all signed up for a diplomatic mission, not a suicide voyage. She thought of Earth, her home, the blue marble that held everything she'd ever known and loved. Then she thought of Kael'thon's children and 4 million beings she'd never meet, and the kind of person she wanted to be. Get me back to my ship, she said. Now. The herald transported her immediately. She materialized on the bridge where her delegation had gathered, confusion on every face. Captain? Raj started. We received specifications for some kind of weapon, but... I know. Get everyone to their stations. Lucas, I need you in engineering. Amara, calculate the firing trajectory. Chen, Volkov, strap in. We're firing this weapon. As they scrambled to comply, Ambassador Chen grabbed her arm. Zara, what's happening? She told them in 30 seconds. The silence that followed felt like an eternity. So we never go home, Lucas said quietly. That's what you're saying. That's what I'm saying. Dr. Okoye's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. Then we'd better not miss. Professor Volkov smiled sadly. A test of courage indeed. To sacrifice not in the heat of battle, but in cold calculation. This is what separates sentience from mere survival instinct. Everyone on board should have a say, Zara said. This isn't just my choice. Raj was already pulling up crew communications. 37 people crewed the Meridian Explorer. In 90 seconds, Zara explained the situation to all of them. The vote was unanimous. All right then, Zara said, settling into the captain's chair. Let's save some lives. The next 30 minutes were the most intense of Zara's life. Lucas worked miracles in engineering, routing power through systems that were never designed for such loads. Dr. Okoye ran calculations 3 times to ensure accuracy. The weapon charged, drawing energy from every system until the ship groaned with the strain. 15 minutes to impact, Raj announced. Weapon charged, Lucas called out. Captain, we're ready? Zara looked at the display showing Kepler 442b. Somewhere down there, Kael'thon's family was looking at the sky, maybe knowing what was coming, maybe not. For a million souls who just wanted to live. Fire, she commanded. The weapon discharged with a flash of light that seemed to tear space itself. The beam crossed 1,200 light-years in an instant, the alien technology clearly operating outside normal physics, and struck the asteroid. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the asteroid shattered into particles too small to threaten anything. A cheer erupted across the bridge, but it died quickly as systems began failing. The faster-than-light drive imploded with a whine of dying machinery. Backup systems kicked in, but the damage was permanent. Well, Lucas said into the silence, looks like we're stuck at sublight speeds now. Earth is about 80,000 years away at maximum velocity. Dr. Okoye laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. We did it though. We actually did it. Zara stood, her legs shaky. Raj, compose a message to Earth. Tell them we're okay but we won't be coming home. Tell them we made the right choice. Before Raj could respond, the herald appeared on the bridge, followed immediately by Coordinator Lycanther and the entire council. Captain Zara Okonkwo, Lycanther said, his voice solemn. You have passed the trial of courage. Not because you were fearless but because you acted despite knowing the full cost. You sacrificed everything for strangers. Monitor Kael'thon stepped forward, the metallic being's form literally trembling. You saved my children. My mate. My home. There are no words in any language to express my gratitude. We couldn't let them die, Zara said simply. Not if we could help. Vrexdal's mandibles clicked in what might have been approval. Few species demonstrate such selflessness. Most protect their own above all else. You have surprised us. What happens now? Ambassador Chin asked. Lycanther's form brightened. Now we repair your ship. You continue to the second trial. But Captain, understand this. You have already proven something remarkable. You have shown us that humans can be more than their worst impulses. Whatever comes next, this moment will be remembered. As alien technology began restoring the Meridian Explorer systems, Zara looked at her crew, her team, and realized something profound. They'd been willing to give up everything, not for glory or reward, but because it was right. Maybe she thought that's what courage really meant. And maybe, just maybe, humanity had a chance after all. The trial of Ingenuity. 3 ship days passed before the Herald returned. In that time, the delegation had become minor celebrities within the Council's domain. Word of their sacrifice had spread across the alien networks, and several species had sent messages of respect, something apparently unprecedented for a species under judgment. Dr. Amara Okoye spent those days analyzing everything she could about the Galactic Sovereignty's technology, her mind working overtime. When the Herald finally appeared, she was ready. Dr. Amara Okoye will represent humanity in the trial of Ingenuity, the Herald announced. You will proceed immediately. Amara kissed the small photo of her mother she kept in her pocket, a ritual before every major presentation, and followed the Herald through another reality-bending transition. She found herself in a laboratory unlike anything she'd imagined. It was vast, filled with equipment that seemed to operate on principles of physics she barely understood. Floating workstations defied gravity. Holographic displays showed equations in 3 dimensions. Energy crackled and flowed through transparent tubes in patterns that suggested purpose but defied explanation. 5 council members awaited her, including Evaluator ZYX of the Pattern Collective and a being she hadn't seen before, a creature that looked like a floating brain surrounded by tendrils of electricity. Dr. Okoye, ZYX said, its geometric form rotating to face her. I am surprised you were chosen. Our analysis suggested the engineer Lucas Brennan had superior technical knowledge. Amara smiled. Lucas is brilliant with systems he understands. But I'm a theoretical physicist. I'm used to working with things that shouldn't be possible. The electrical being pulsed with what might have been amusement. I am Technarch Velcaris of the Synaptic Nexus. Confidence is useful, but this trial requires more than theory. You face a problem that has stumped the greatest minds in the galaxy for centuries. A massive holographic display activated, showing a 3-dimensional map of space. Red zones marked dangerous areas, spreading like infection across the star chart. These are the void tiers, Velcaris explained. Regions where the fabric of spacetime is damaged. They appeared approximately 2,000 years ago and have been slowly growing. Ships that enter them are destroyed. Planets near them experience temporal anomalies. We've lost 17 worlds to their expansion. Amara studied the display, her mind already working. What causes them? Unknown, another council member answered, a being that resembled crystal and seemed related to the Herald. I am Architect Thelzon. We've sent probe after probe. All destroyed. We've analyzed the data from every angle. The tiers defy known physics. They shouldn't exist, yet they do. And they're growing. Your task, ZYX continued, is simple. Where we have failed for 2 millennia, you have 6 hours to succeed. Determine the cause of the void tiers and propose a solution. If you succeed, your species passes this trial. If you fail, well. The geometric being rotated ominously. Your courage in the previous trial will be remembered, even as your species is erased. No pressure then, Amara muttered. She approached the nearest workstation. I'll need access to all your data. Every probe, every analysis, every failed theory. You'll have it, Velkaris said. But understand, Doctor, you work alone. This tests human ingenuity, not your ability to rely on our expertise. The data flooded in and Amara's world narrowed to equations and theories. She barely noticed when hours passed, lost in the beautiful complexity of the problem. The void tiers weren't random. They followed a pattern, appearing along specific gravitational corridors. But the math was wrong. Conventional physics said they should collapse instantly, yet they persisted and grew. 4 hours in, she'd hit 12 dead ends. Her theories kept crashing against the reality that these things shouldn't exist. 2 hours remain, ZYX announced. Perhaps your species is simply not advanced enough for this problem. Amara ignored the comment, though frustration burned in her chest. There had to be something, some angle everyone else had missed. That's when it hit her. Everyone else. The Council had been working on this for 2,000 years, using the most advanced technology in the galaxy. They'd approached it with their vast knowledge and sophisticated tools. But Amara came from a species that had only just learned it wasn't alone in the universe. A species that still used relatively primitive technology. A species that had to get creative because they didn't have better options. She called up data on Earth's scientific history. Nuclear physics, quantum mechanics, the standard model of particle physics. Then she overlaid it with what she'd learned about galactic technology. The Council races don't use quantum computing anymore, do they? She asked suddenly. Architect Thelzon shimmered. Quantum systems are inefficient. We evolved beyond them 800 years ago. We use dimensional processing now. But the void tiers appeared 2,000 years ago, Amara said, excitement building. Before you abandon quantum technology. What if? She began pulling up historical records, fingers flying across the holographic interface. What if the tiers aren't natural phenomena? What if they're artificial remnants? The Council members shifted, attention focusing intensely on her. Amara continued, speaking faster as pieces fell into place. Look at this. 2053 years ago, according to your records, the Talvex Empire fell. They were one of the most advanced species in their time, right? And they specialized in quantum technology, specifically quantum weaponry. She highlighted sections of data. The locations of the void tiers correspond almost perfectly with recorded Talvex military outposts. What if these aren't tiers in space-time at all? What if they're quantum weapons that misfired or were left active when the Empire collapsed? Velkaris crackled with energy. Impossible. Quantum weapons would have decayed over 2 millennia. Unless, Amara countered, they were designed not to. Look at the pattern of expansion. It's not random growth, it's regular like a pulse. Like something cycling on a timer. She pulled up wave analysis. And the frequency. It matches quantum harmonic oscillation. These things are still active because they're in a superposition state, simultaneously on and off, existing and not existing. Your dimensional scanners can't detect them because they're operating on quantum principles. The chamber fell silent. Architect Thelzon moved closer to the data. If you're correct, then traditional methods of addressing them would fail. Dimensional processing can't interface with quantum superposition effectively. Exactly, Amara said. You've been trying to fix them with technology that can't even see the real problem. But Earth still uses quantum computing. We understand these principles because we're still working with them. ZYX's rotation slowed. This is an elegant theory. But theory is insufficient. Can you propose a solution? Amara's fingers danced across the interface. Yes. If I'm right, we need to collapse the superposition. Force the quantum weapons to choose a state, either fully on or fully off. Once they're no longer in superposition, they'll either activate and dissipate their energy harmlessly, or they'll shut down completely. And how do you propose we accomplish this? Technarch Velkaris asked. With an observer effect on a massive scale, Amara explained. Quantum systems collapse when observed. We need to create a network of quantum sensors around each tier, all observing simultaneously. The concentrated observation should force the superposition to collapse. She pulled up a design. This is based on Earth's quantum computer architecture, scaled up by a factor of about 1,000,000. Your manufacturing capabilities can build it. The principles are simple, we just never had the resources to build something this size. The council members consulted in silence, their various forms pulsing, shimmering, and rotating as they processed the information. Finally, Coordinator Lysanther materialized in the laboratory, apparently summoned by the others. He examined Amara's work for a long moment. "Dr. Okoye," he said, "we have consulted with our greatest scientific minds. Your theory is sound. Moreover, it is based on a perspective we literally could not have taken. Our advancement beyond quantum technology made us blind to quantum problems. Sometimes," Amara said softly, "being less advanced means you see things from a different angle. We're not better than you. We just still remember what it's like to work with limited tools." Architect Thelzon shimmered with approval. She speaks truth. We were so focused on our sophisticated solutions that we missed the simple elegance of her approach. This is ingenuity, not simply knowledge but the creative application of what one knows. "You have passed the trial of ingenuity," Lysanther declared. "More than that, you have potentially solved a crisis that has threatened the galaxy for 2 millennia. Dr. Okoye, your species thinks differently than the council races. That difference, we now understand, is not a weakness but a strength." As Amara was transported back to her ship, she found the entire crew waiting. Zara pulled her into a tight hug. "The council broadcast your solution across their networks," the captain said. "Apparently you're a genius." "I'm really not," Amara protested. I thought about how we'd solve it on Earth, where we don't have fancy technology. Sometimes the simple answer is the right one." Lucas grinned. "You just showed the entire galaxy that humans can think our way out of problems they couldn't solve in 2,000 years. That's not just passing a test, Amara. That's making a statement." Professor Volkov nodded thoughtfully. "You've demonstrated what I've long believed, that humanity's strength lies not in matching others' capabilities, but in approaching problems from our own unique perspective. Our comparative youth in the cosmos is not a weakness." Ambassador Chen smiled. 2 trials down, 1 to go. And humanity is still standing. But as celebrations continued, Amara noticed Coordinator Lysanther speaking quietly with the herald at the edge of the chamber. The conversation looked serious, even concerned. The final trial, she realized, might be the hardest yet. The trial of resolve. The delegation was given 2 full days to rest before the final trial. During that time, they received unprecedented access to the Council's library, a vast digital archive containing the histories of thousands of species. Professor Mikhail Volkov spent every waking hour immersed in these records, his aged eyes scanning story after story of civilizations that had risen, flourished, and sometimes fallen. Ambassador Chen often joined him, the two discussing the patterns they observed. "It's fascinating," Chen said on the evening of the second day. "Almost every species that achieves space travel goes through similar phases. Discovery, expansion, conflict, and finally either cooperation or collapse." Volkov nodded, making notes in his worn journal. "But look at the species that failed the trials. 17 races eliminated before they could spread beyond their worlds. What's the common thread?" Chen studied the records. They couldn't demonstrate all 3 qualities: courage, ingenuity, and resolve. Most had 1 or 2, but not all 3 together. "Which means," Volkov said quietly, "the final trial will test us in ways the others didn't. Resolution isn't just determination. It's the ability to maintain conviction even when everything argues against it." He was right. When the herald came for them on the 3rd morning, it requested both Professor Volkov and Ambassador Chen. "You will face this trial together," it said. "Humanity's resolve cannot be judged through one voice alone." They were transported to a different kind of chamber, smaller, more intimate, but somehow more intimidating than even the council hall. It was circular, with a single platform in the center. The walls displayed nothing but stars. All 12 council members attended, standing in their designated positions around the circle. Coordinator Lysanther stepped forward. "Ambassador Chinwei and Professor Mikhail Volkov," he said, his starlight form dimmer than usual, as if conserving energy or perhaps expressing something like sadness. "You have both studied our archives. You know what comes next." "We do," Chin replied, though his voice trembled slightly. Lysanther gestured, and the stars on the walls shifted, forming images. "The trial of resolve tests not your determination in the face of external threats, but your conviction when faced with fundamental truths. Captain Okonkwo demonstrated courage by sacrificing for strangers. Dr. Okoye showed ingenuity by thinking beyond conventional limits. But resolve is tested by choices with no good answers. The images solidified into a scenario. Earth appeared beautiful and blue. Then gradually the timeline fast-forwarded. Cities grew. Population exploded. Resources dwindled. Climate changed. Despite humanity's efforts, the projection showed Earth becoming uninhabitable within 300 years. This is our most accurate projection of Earth's future, Assessor Quellen said, colors shifting to somber blues and grays. Based on current trends, resource consumption, and biological carrying capacity. Your species will survive, but your homeworld will not. A second image appeared, a lush, pristine planet. This is New Terra, Lycanther continued. A planet we have prepared specifically for humanity. Perfect climate. Abundant resources. No competing species. It could comfortably house your entire population. We would transport every human safely. Earth would be left to heal over millions of years. What's the catch? Volkov asked, though his voice suggested he already knew. Vrextal clicked forward, mandibles moving. The catch, as you say, is memory. To prevent humans from repeating the patterns that damaged Earth, all memory of your homeworld would be erased. You would know yourselves as the species of New Terra. No history books. No cultural memory of Earth. No knowledge of what you lost or why. Chen's face went pale. You're asking us to forget who we are. We're offering you survival, Coordinator Lycanther corrected. A clean start. A chance to build a civilization without the baggage of your troubled past. Many species have accepted this offer gratefully. And those who refused? Volkov asked. Silence answered him. Finally, Monitor Kael'thon spoke, the metallic being's voice heavy. They were allowed to return home and face their planet's decline. Most such species eventually die out, unable to change quickly enough to save themselves. It is tragic but inevitable. Professor Volkov moved to the center platform, studying both images carefully. Chin joined him, the two standing side by side. May we confer privately? Chin asked. You have 1 hour, Lycanther said. But understand, this decision binds all humanity. Choose wisely. The council members faded from sight, though the delegation knew they were still watching. Chin turned to Volkov, anguish clear on his face. This is impossible. We're choosing between extinction and erasure. No, Volkov said slowly. We're choosing between who we are and who we could be. There's a difference. He activated his communication device. Captain Okonkwo, are you receiving? Zara's voice came through immediately. Every word, Professor. The entire delegation is listening. Good. Then you all understand what we're deciding. I think we need input from everyone. For the next 40 minutes they debated. Arguments flew back and forth, passionate and desperate. Lucas advocated for the new planet. We get to survive. Start fresh. Maybe we'll do better without all the historical baggage of nationalism and old conflicts. But Dr. Okoye countered, we are our history. The good and the bad. Erase that and we're not humans anymore. We're just biological organisms the council has reprogrammed. Raj raised a practical concern. Even if we refuse, Earth is dying. They've shown us that. Are we choosing death out of stubbornness? Are we choosing life if we forget everyone who came before us? Countered a crew member named Sarah Martinez. My grandmother survived a war. My grandfather fought for civil rights. Their struggles made me who I am. Erase that history and their suffering meant nothing. Ambassador Chen listened to every voice, his diplomatic training warring with his personal convictions. Professor, you've studied human history longer than anyone here. What do you think? Volkov was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was steady but emotional. I think about a story from Earth. During World War II there was a city under siege, Leningrad. For 900 days the people starved. Millions died. But there was a seed bank there, containing samples of plants from around the world. The scientists protecting it were starving too. They could have eaten the seeds and survived. But they didn't. They let themselves die to preserve those seeds for the future. He looked at the image of New Terra. The council is offering us seeds for a new life. But they're asking us to burn our old seeds, our memories, our history, our identity, to get it. I don't think we can. I don't think we should. Even if it means we might not survive? Chen asked softly. Especially then, Volkov replied. Because survival without memory is just existence. We need to know where we came from to understand where we're going. We need to remember our mistakes to avoid repeating them. We need to honor those who came before us by remembering their struggles. Zara's voice came through the calm. I agree. We take the hard road. We stay who we are. One by one the others agreed. Even Lucas, despite his initial argument, nodded. Yeah, you're right. I'd rather face Earth's future as a human who knows his history than as someone who forgot. When the hour ended, the council materialized again. Have you decided? Lysanther asked. Ambassador Chin stepped forward, his diplomatic composure restored but his voice carrying deep emotion. Honored Council, we thank you for the offer of New Terra. It is generous beyond measure. But we must decline. Murmurs rippled through the council members. We choose Earth, Professor Volkov added. With all its problems, its damaged ecosystems, its uncertain future. We choose to remember who we are, even if that memory includes our failures. Because those failures are lessons and we need those lessons to grow. Vrextal's mandibles clicked rapidly. You choose potential extinction over guaranteed survival? This is foolishness. Perhaps, Chin agreed. But it's our foolishness. And maybe that's the point. Humans have always chosen the difficult path when it meant preserving who we are. We've fought for freedom over safety, for dignity over comfort, for truth over convenient lies. We're not perfect, but we're ourselves. That's worth fighting for. Assessor Quellen's colors shifted to something unreadable. You understand what you're rejecting? Paradise itself? Paradise without identity isn't paradise, Volkov said gently. It's oblivion with better scenery. We'd rather struggle as humans than exist as something else. Coordinator Lysanther studied them for a long time. The chamber was absolutely silent. Finally he spoke. In 2,000 years of conducting these trials, only 3 other species have refused the offer of a new world. 2 of them are now extinct. The third. He paused. The third became one of the most respected civilizations in the council. They are the Talvesh Collective, and they refused because they said their scars made them who they were. He moved closer to Chin and Volkov. You have passed the trial of resolve. Not because you made the smart choice, indeed you may have made the fatal choice. But because you demonstrated something we needed to see, that humans would rather fail as themselves than succeed as someone else. That is resolve. That is the quality we test for. The other council members began to pulse, shimmer, and glow with what might have been approval. But understand, Lysanther continued, your choice binds your species. Earth's future is uncertain. You've chosen to face it rather than escape it. We will not intervene to save you if your planet fails. We wouldn't want you to, Chin said. Our future should be ours to make for better or worse. As the delegation was returned to their ship, they found a message waiting from the council. It was brief. Humanity, you have passed all 3 trials. Tomorrow you will receive our judgment before the full assembly. Prepare yourselves. That night, the delegation gathered in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Do you think we made the right choice? Lucas asked quietly. Zara put her hand on his shoulder. I think we made the human choice. And maybe that's all we can do. Professor Volkov raised a glass of water. They had no alcohol aboard, in a toast. To Earth. To humanity. To choosing the hard road because it's ours. They all raised their glasses. Outside the viewport, the galaxy turned, indifferent to their small drama. But inside the ship, 8 billion lives hung in the balance, represented by 5 people who had chosen memory over comfort, identity over ease, and humanity over paradise. Tomorrow would determine if that choice meant survival or extinction. The judgment. The council chamber had transformed overnight. Where before there had been 12 seats for the council members, now thousands of viewing platforms surrounded the central space, each occupied by representatives from the 3,417 species of the galactic sovereignty. Zara had never felt so small. The human delegation stood on a raised platform at the chamber's center, exposed to view from all sides. Beings of every conceivable form watched them, some with recognizable eyes, others with senses humanity couldn't even name. The weight of their attention was almost physical. Coordinator Lysanther materialized above them all, his starlight form blazing so brightly it hurt to look at directly. We are gathered, his voice resonated through the vast space, to render judgment upon the species known as humanity of the planet Earth. They have undergone the 3 trials. Now they face the assembly. Zara felt Ambassador Chin tense beside her. This was his moment, the diplomat stepping forward to represent their species before the galaxy. But it was Adjudicator Vrextal who spoke first, the insectoid's voice buzzing with something that might have been grudging respect. The humans demonstrated courage beyond expectation. When faced with the choice between their own survival and that of strangers, they chose to sacrifice everything. Captain Okonkwo and her crew proved that humans can value life beyond their own species. This is remarkable for such a young civilization. Evaluator ZYX's geometric form rotated slowly. The humans demonstrated ingenuity that surpassed our own greatest minds. Dr. Okoye solved in hours what we could not solve in centuries. She thought beyond our limitations because her species has not yet acquired those same limitations. Her perspective, born from humanity's relative primitiveness, became their strength. Technarch Velcaris crackled with energy. Most surprising, the humans demonstrated resolve that few species possess. When offered paradise itself, they chose hardship. When given the option to forget their failures, they chose to remember. Ambassador Chin and Professor Volkov spoke for a species that would rather die as themselves than live as something else. The assembly murmured in 1,000 different ways: sounds, lights, pheromones, telepathic pulses. Coordinator Lysanthir raised a limb and silence fell. The trials were passed. This is unprecedented in recent cycles. But passing the trials is not the end of judgment. It is the beginning of a more important question. He turned his cosmic gaze directly on the delegation. The question is not whether humanity deserves to survive. It is whether humanity deserves to join us. Ambassador Chin stepped forward. Honored Coordinator, if I may speak? You may. In fact, you must. This is your opportunity to address the assembly. Speak for your species, Ambassador. Make them understand why humanity should be welcomed into the galactic sovereignty. Chin took a deep breath. Zara saw his hands shake slightly, but his voice was steady when he spoke. Honored members of the Council and representatives of the Assembly, I stand before you not as a perfect representative of a perfect species, but as a flawed man from a flawed civilization. And perhaps that's the point. He activated a holographic display, showing images from Earth. Not the wars and pollution the Council had shown during their first meeting, but something different. This is Earth. Third planet from an unremarkable star. For most of our existence, we thought we were alone in the universe. We looked at the sky and wondered if anyone was out there. We hoped. We searched. We listened. And we heard only silence. Images shifted. Ancient humans looking at stars, early telescopes, radio telescopes, space probes. That silence shaped us. We grew up alone and loneliness made us wary. Every tribe, every nation, every civilization on Earth developed independently. And yes, often that led to conflict. We've made terrible mistakes. We've fought brutal wars. We've damaged our planet. We've done things we're not proud of. The Assembly watched, silent. But we've also done something else. Despite our isolation, despite our fear, despite having no proof that anyone else existed, we've tried to be better. We've created art that celebrates existence itself. We've developed philosophy that questions our place in the cosmos. We've built systems of ethics that demand we treat each other with dignity. More images. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, medical workers helping the sick, teachers educating children, scientists sharing discoveries. We've stumbled. We've fallen. But we've always gotten back up. And now, learning that we're not alone, we're faced with a choice. Do we cling to our isolation? Do we view the galaxy as a threat? Or do we embrace what we've always hoped for, connection? Chen's voice grew stronger. You tested our courage and we proved we'd sacrifice for strangers. You tested our ingenuity, and we proved we could contribute solutions you hadn't considered. You tested our resolve, and we proved we'd choose authenticity over comfort. But what you really tested was whether humanity could grow beyond its limitations while remaining essentially human. Professor Volkov stepped forward to join him. If I may add something, honored assembly. I've spent my life studying human conflict and cooperation. I've seen humanity at its worst, wars that scarred generations, hatred that divided peoples, greed that destroyed ecosystems. But I've also seen humanity at its best. He pulled up different images: the International Space Station, the Human Genome Project, the Paris Climate Accord, international disaster relief. We've learned, slowly and painfully, that cooperation serves us better than conflict. That diversity strengthens rather than weakens. That our differences are not threats but opportunities. We're still learning these lessons. We're not done growing. But we're trying. Dr. Okoye spoke up. And maybe that's what we offer the sovereignty. A fresh perspective. A civilization that still remembers what it's like to struggle with basic problems. We haven't transcended our limitations, we're still working through them. That means we think differently than species who've already solved all the problems we're still facing. Plus, Lucas added with a slight smile, we're really good at improvising. When you don't have fancy technology, you learn to make do with what you have. That kind of creativity doesn't disappear just because you gain access to better tools. Zara stepped forward last. Honored Assembly, you've shown us wonders we never imagined. Technology that seems like magic to us. Civilizations that have endured for millions of years. Wisdom we can't even comprehend. You've achieved things we're only beginning to dream about. She paused, meeting as many eyes and eye analogs as she could. But here's what we offer in return. We remember what it's like to be new to the cosmos. We remember wonder. We remember that first moment of looking up and realizing we're part of something bigger than ourselves. You've been traveling the stars for so long that maybe you've forgotten what it feels like to take those first steps. We haven't, she continued. And maybe that's valuable. Maybe you need a species that still gets excited about things you take for granted. Maybe you need a civilization that hasn't forgotten how to dream, because we're still turning our dreams into reality every day. Ambassador Chen reclaimed the floor. So here's what I say to you, honored assembly. Humanity isn't perfect. We're young, messy, and still figuring ourselves out. But we've passed your trials not by being who you wanted us to be, but by being authentically ourselves. We showed courage because we value life. We showed ingenuity because we think differently. We showed resolve because we won't compromise our identity. His voice rose, filling the chamber. If you're looking for a perfect species to add to your sovereignty, we're not it. But if you're looking for a species with potential, with passion, with the drive to grow and learn and contribute, then we're standing right here. Judge us not on where we are, but on where we're going. Judge us not on our mistakes, but on our determination to learn from them. We want to join you, Shin concluded. Not because we're afraid to stand alone, but because we believe cooperation is better than isolation. We want to learn from you, work with you, and contribute to the galactic community. We want to be part of something greater than ourselves. Isn't that what the sovereignty is supposed to be about? Silence fell across the chamber. Coordinator Lysanther consulted with the other council members in a rapid exchange too quick for human ears to follow. Then he addressed the assembly. Representatives of the 3,417 species of the galactic sovereignty, you have heard the humans speak. You have witnessed their trials. Now you must vote. Does humanity join us as equals, or do we allow them to develop in isolation until they are ready? Wait, Vrextal interrupted. There is a third option we must consider. Zara's blood ran cold. Elimination. They hadn't said it, but that's what the third option had to be. But Vrextal surprised her. I propose a fourth option. Humanity has proven itself in ways that exceed many species who are already members of the sovereignty. They solved a problem that threatened all of us. They demonstrated qualities we value. But they are also correct that they are young and still learning. The insectoid moved closer to the delegation. I propose we offer them not just membership but partnership. We grant them full access to the sovereignty's knowledge and resources, but in return they agree to share their unique perspective. They become not just members but teachers, reminding us what it means to be new to the stars. Murmurs swept through the assembly, building to a crescendo. Assessor Quellen's colors shifted to bright, optimistic hues. I support this proposal. Humanity needs guidance, but we need their fresh perspective. This benefits both parties. Monitor Kael'thon's metallic form gleamed. They saved my world. My children live because of their courage. I support not just membership but honored partnership. One by one, council members voiced their support. Then the voting began. The holographic display showed results in real time. Green lights for approval, red for rejection, amber for abstention. The lights flashed across the chamber like stars being born. Green, green, green. A few reds. More greens. Amber here and there. Zara couldn't breathe. Beside her, Dr. Okoye clutched her hand. Ambassador Chen stood rigid, watching humanity's fate decided by beings they'd met only days ago. The final count appeared. 3,206 votes in favor. 193 against. 18 abstentions. Coordinator Lysanther's form blazed with light. By the authority vested in this council and with the approval of the Assembly, humanity is hereby welcomed into the galactic sovereignty as full partners. You will have access to our knowledge, our technology, our resources. In return, you will contribute your perspective, your creativity, and your courage. The chamber erupted in sounds, chirps, harmonics, electromagnetic pulses, and vibrations that human ears couldn't process but human hearts could feel. It was celebration, alien but unmistakable. Lucas grabbed Zara in a hug. Dr. Okoye was crying. Professor Volkov looked stunned. Ambassador Chin simply smiled, a lifetime of diplomatic composure finally cracking to show pure joy. There is one more thing, Lysanthir said, and the chamber quieted. Captain Okonkwo stepped forward. Zara approached the coordinator, heart pounding. Your sacrifice during the trial of courage has not been forgotten, Lysanthir said. You were willing to give up everything for strangers. In recognition of this and as humanity's first gift of membership, we present you with something. A small vessel appeared, no larger than a personal transport. But its design incorporated technology Zara recognized from the weapon that had saved Kepler 442b, mixed with sleeker, more advanced systems. This is the Herald's gift, Lysanthir explained. It is the fastest ship in the galaxy, capable of crossing the distance to Earth in a matter of days rather than decades. Take your delegation home, Captain. Tell your people that humanity is no longer alone. Tell them that the stars are now theirs to explore. Zara's voice cracked. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Captain, Monitor Kael'thon said. My children drew you pictures. I've transmitted them to your vessel. They want to meet the humans who saved them someday. As the celebration continued, the delegation was surrounded by representatives from dozens of species, each offering greetings, sharing knowledge, or simply expressing curiosity about the newcomers. A being made of flowing light approached Professor Volkov. I am a historian of the sovereignty, it said. I would very much like to learn about human history. Your species fascinates me. The feeling is mutual, Volkov replied with a gentle smile. A crystalline entity hovered near Dr. Okoye. I am Chief Scientist Thalmir. Dr. Okoye, your solution to the void tiers has already been implemented in 3 sectors. The tiers are collapsing. You have saved countless worlds. Amara looked stunned. I just applied basic quantum theory. You thought beyond our limitations, Thalmir replied. That is the definition of genius. I hope you will work with our research teams. We have much to learn from each other. As the celebration wound down and the delegation prepared to return to the Meridian Explorer one final time before transferring to the Herald's gift, Coordinator Lysanthir approached them. You did well, he said simply. Your species faced its judgment with courage, ingenuity, and resolve. But more than that, you remained authentically human throughout. That is why you succeeded. What happens now? Zara asked. Now? Lysanthir's form seemed to smile, though he had no face. Now you go home and tell your people that the universe has been waiting for them. Then you return, and we begin the real work of integrating humanity into the galactic community. Will not be easy. There will be challenges, misunderstandings, conflicts. But based on what you've shown us, I believe humanity is ready to face them. We won't let you down, Ambassador Chin promised. I know, Lysanthir replied. Because if there's one thing the trials proved, it's that humans don't give up. They stumble, they fall, but they always get back up. That's the quality we value most. As the delegation left the council chamber for the last time, heading toward the ship that would take them home, Zara looked back once. The chamber was still filled with representatives from across the galaxy, all of them celebrating humanity's arrival. Hard to believe, she murmured. A week ago we didn't know any of this existed. Now we're part of it. Not just part of it, Professor Volkov corrected. Partners in it. There's a difference. They boarded the Herald's gift, marveling at its sleek interior and incomprehensible technology. As the ship powered up, Earth's coordinates locked in, Zara sat in the captain's chair and took a deep breath. All right, she said. Let's go home. We've got 8 billion people to inform that we're not alone anymore. The Herald's gift leaped into faster-than-light travel, carrying humanity's representatives home with news that would change their species forever. Behind them, the galactic sovereignty prepared to welcome its newest members. Ahead of them, Earth waited, unaware that its children had just earned humanity's place among the stars. The return. 3 days later, the Herald's gift dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. Zara stared at the viewscreen at the familiar sight of her son, and felt tears streaming down her face. Home, she whispered. The communications array lit up immediately. Earth had detected their arrival. This is Earth Defense Command, a voice crackled over the radio. Unidentified vessel, please state your origin and purpose. Ambassador Chin smiled and activated the comm. Earth Defense Command, this is Ambassador Chin Wei aboard the Herald's gift. We're the diplomatic delegation from the Meridian Explorer. We're coming home and we have a lot to tell you. The silence that followed lasted several seconds. Then, Ambassador Chin? Sir, we'd given you up for dead. You've been gone for 6 weeks. The Meridian Explorer stopped transmitting 3 weeks ago. We thought. We know, Shin said gently. We had some difficulties. But we're here now and we're bringing friends. Well, future friends. It's complicated. We need to speak with the Secretary General immediately. Within hours, the Herald's gift was granted clearance to land at UN headquarters in New York. The entire world had been alerted. News networks had gone into 24-hour coverage. Billions of people waited, hoping and fearing in equal measure. As the ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, Dr. Okoye looked out the viewport at clouds, blue sky, and green land below. I never thought I'd see this again, she said. We came close to not seeing it, Lucas replied. But we made it. We actually made it. The ship landed in a clear area that had been hastily cordoned off. Through the viewport, the delegation could see hundreds of people waiting. Officials, security, media, and just regular citizens who'd somehow made it through the barriers, all wanting to witness this moment. Ready? Zara asked her team. They looked at each other. 5 humans who'd left Earth as explorers and were returning as ambassadors to the galaxy. Ready? They said together. The airlock opened. Earth's air rushed in, carrying smells of grass and city and humanity that made Zara's heart ache with joy. They descended the ramp together, stepping onto their homeworld under the gaze of millions watching via broadcast. Secretary General James Okoro waited at the base of the ramp, along with representatives from the major world powers. His face was a mixture of relief, joy, and barely contained curiosity. Ambassador Chin, he said formally. Captain Okonkwo. Welcome home. We'd feared the worst. Mr. Secretary General, Chin replied, shaking his hand. We have so much to tell you. But the short version is this. We're not alone. We've never been alone. And as of 3 days ago, humanity has been welcomed into the galactic sovereignty as full partners. The crowd erupted in noise, gasps, cheers, questions shouted over each other. Secretary General Okoro raised his hands for silence. Perhaps, he said diplomatically, we should continue this conversation inside? The entire world is watching, but I think we need to hear the full story before making any public statements. The delegation was escorted into a secure conference room. For the next 6 hours they told their story. Every trial. Every choice. Every moment of fear and triumph. The Secretary General and world leaders listened with expressions that cycled through disbelief, wonder, pride, and concern. When they finished, silence hung over the room. So, the Chinese premier said slowly, we've been judged by an alien council and found acceptable? More than acceptable, Professor Volkov replied. We've been found valuable. Our perspective, our way of thinking, our determination to grow, these things impressed them. And they're willing to share technology? Asked the Indian representative. Advanced technology that could solve many of our problems? Yes, Dr. Okoye confirmed. But not as charity. As partnership. They expect us to contribute. To share our own knowledge and perspectives. To work with them as equals, not supplicants. The Russian delegate looked skeptical. And what do they want in return? There's always a price. Ambassador Chen shook his head. They want what they said they want, our unique perspective. Our creativity born from limitation. Our passion born from being new to the cosmos. They've been traveling the stars for millennia. We remind them what it's like to take their first steps. That has value to them. There's something else, Zara added. They've invited us to send delegations to the Council. To establish embassies. To integrate into the galactic community. But they've made it clear that Earth's future is still ours to shape. They won't save us from ourselves. We have to do that. Secretary General Okoro leaned back in his chair, processing everything. This changes everything. Every priority, every plan, every assumption about humanity's place in the universe. Yes, Chin agreed. But isn't that what we've always hoped for? To know we're not alone? To learn that there are others out there? Yes, it's scary. Yes, it's overwhelming. But it's also magnificent. The Secretary General nodded slowly. I need to address the world. To tell them what you've told us. But first, tell me honestly. Are we ready for this? Is humanity ready to join the galactic community? The delegation looked at each other. No, Professor Volkov said bluntly. We're not ready. We're still fighting among ourselves over resources and ideologies. We're still damaging our planet. We're still learning basic lessons about cooperation. But, Dr. Okoye continued, we'll never be truly ready. There's no perfect moment. The question isn't whether we're ready, it's whether we're willing to grow. and I think the trials proved we are. The galaxy isn't perfect either, Lucas added. They have their own problems, their own conflicts. We're not joining paradise. We're joining a community of flawed civilizations trying to make things work. And maybe our flaws will help us understand their challenges in ways they can't. Zara stood. Mr. Secretary General, here's what I know. A week ago, I was willing to sacrifice my life and strand my crew to save strangers from a planet I'd never heard of. That's what humanity is capable of when we choose courage over fear. That's what we showed the galaxy. That's what we need to show ourselves. Secretary General Okoro stood as well. Then I think it's time to tell the world. Not just that we're not alone, but that we've earned our place among the stars. The broadcast went global. Every network, every platform, every device capable of receiving signal carried the Secretary General's address. 8 billion people stopped what they were doing to listen. My fellow citizens of Earth, Okoro began. Today, I stand before you with news that will fundamentally change our understanding of our place in the universe. We are not alone. We have never been alone. And as of 3 days ago, humanity has been welcomed as full partners into a galactic community comprising thousands of civilizations. He told them everything. The trials, the choices, the courage, ingenuity, and resolve humanity had demonstrated. He introduced the delegation who stood behind him, visible to the entire world. This changes everything, he continued. We now know that we're part of something greater than ourselves. We have access to knowledge and technology beyond our current understanding. We have the opportunity to learn from civilizations millions of years old. But, he added, his voice growing serious, this is not salvation. The galaxy will not solve our problems for us. We must still address climate change. We must still work toward global cooperation. We must still choose to be better than our worst impulses. The difference is that now we know we're not doing it alone. We have partners. We have examples to learn from. And we have a reason to succeed, because the galaxy is watching to see what humanity will do next. He paused, letting the words sink in. Over the coming weeks and months, we will establish formal contact with the galactic sovereignty. We will send ambassadors. We will receive visitors. We will begin the process of integrating into the galactic community. This will be challenging. There will be misunderstandings. There will be fear. But there will also be wonder, discovery, and hope. To the young people of Earth I say this, the stars are yours now. Your generation will be the first to walk among them as equals. Your children will grow up knowing they're part of a galactic civilization. Your future is literally limitless. To all people of Earth I say, we are entering a new age. An age of exploration, cooperation, and growth. The challenges ahead are immense, but so are the opportunities. We've proven we have the courage, ingenuity, and resolve to face them. Now we must prove we have the wisdom to handle success. The universe has been waiting for humanity. Let's show them what we're capable of. The broadcast ended. For a moment, the world held its breath. Then celebration erupted. In every city, in every country, people poured into the streets. Some cried. Some cheered. Some stood in stunned silence, looking up at the sky with new understanding. Humanity had passed its greatest test. And the adventure was just beginning. Epilogue, 6 months later. The Earth Embassy on Station Unity orbited at the midpoint between Earth and the Council's central hub. It was a marvel of combined human and alien engineering, practical human design enhanced by alien technology that made the impossible routine. Ambassador Chen Wei stood in his office, looking out at the view of Earth below. 6 months had passed since their return, and the world had changed in ways both profound and subtle. The galactic sovereignty had shared technology carefully, providing solutions to energy production, environmental restoration, and disease that had plagued humanity for generations. In return, human artists, scientists, and thinkers had begun contributing to galactic culture in unexpected ways. Dr. Okoye headed a joint human-alien research initiative that was revolutionizing quantum physics across the galaxy. Her team included scientists from 17 different species, all learning from each other's unique perspectives. Lucas Brennan had become humanity's chief engineer for the integration project, adapting alien technology for human use while teaching alien engineers about human problem-solving approaches. His workshop was one of the most popular destinations for visiting aliens who wanted to understand how humans thought about mechanical problems. Professor Volkov had established the Institute for Interspecies Understanding, teaching both humans about alien cultures and aliens about human history. His most popular lecture series was titled, The Value of Imperfection, What Young Civilizations Teach Old Ones. Captain Zara Okonkwo commanded the Unity Fleet, a joint human-alien peacekeeping force that responded to crises across the galaxy. She'd personally overseen 3 rescue missions and 1 diplomatic intervention, earning respect from species that had initially doubted humanity's readiness for such responsibility. But not everything had been smooth. There had been protests on Earth from groups who feared alien influence. There had been misunderstandings between humans and aliens that required careful diplomacy. There had been moments when it seemed the cultural gap was too wide to bridge. Yet humanity persisted. Learning. Growing. Adapting. A chime at Chen's door interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," he called. Coordinator Lysanther materialized in the office, his starlight form dimmed to a comfortable level for human eyes. Over the past months, he and Chen had become something like friends, as much as a being millions of years old could befriend a human diplomat. "Ambassador Chen," Lysanther said, "I've come to discuss the upcoming council session. Earth will present its first independent proposal to the sovereignty." Chen nodded. The proposal was ambitious. A program to help newly discovered civilizations integrate into the galactic community, using humanity's recent experience as a template. It would essentially make humans into guides for other species going through what they just experienced. "Some council members have concerns," Lysanther continued. "They question whether humanity has been part of the sovereignty long enough to take on such responsibility." "And what do you think?" Chen asked. Lysanther's form brightened slightly. "I think humanity's recent integration is precisely why you're qualified. You remember what it's like. You understand the fear, the wonder, the confusion. Older species have forgotten. That makes you valuable. But there's resistance? There's always resistance to change," Lysanther said. "Some species believe the old ways are best. They see humanity's rapid rise as threatening. They preferred when things were predictable." Chen smiled. "Humanity has never been particularly good at being predictable." "No," Lysanther agreed, and there was something like amusement in his tone. "You have not. In 6 months, you've contributed more innovations, asked more challenging questions, and caused more productive disruption than most species do in their first century of membership." "Is that a compliment or a complaint?" "Both," Lysanther said. "That is the nature of humanity. You are simultaneously our greatest challenge and our most exciting opportunity. The Council knew this when we accepted you. We chose disruption over stagnation. We chose growth over comfort." He moved closer to the viewport, looking down at Earth. "Do you know what I see when I look at your planet, Ambassador?" "What do you see?" "Potential," Lysanther said softly. "Not the potential of what you might become, but the potential you're demonstrating right now. You're messy, inconsistent, passionate, and imperfect. And you're magnificent because of it, not despite it." Chen felt his throat tighten with emotion. "That means more than you know, Coordinator." "I know exactly what it means," Lysanther replied. "Because I've watched your species transform from isolated inhabitants of a single planet to active participants in galactic civilization in mere months. You've stumbled. You've made mistakes. But you've never stopped trying to do better." A message appeared on Chen's communication device. He glanced at it and smiled. "It's from Earth. The Secretary General is announcing a global initiative to restore Earth's ecosystems using the technology the sovereignty provided. He's calling it Project Renaissance." "See," Lysanther said. "This is what I mean. Most species, when given advanced technology, use it for comfort or convenience. Humans use it to heal the damage they've caused. You take responsibility for your mistakes." "We're trying," Chen said. "We don't always succeed, but we're trying." "That," Lysanther said, "is all the galaxy can ask. Try, learn, grow, repeat. That is the cycle of civilization. Humanity understands this intuitively. Other species had to learn it over millions of years." Another chime at the door. This time it was Zara, still in her fleet uniform, accompanied by Dr. Okoye Lucas and Professor Volkov. They'd all been summoned for an emergency meeting. "Coordinator," Zara said, nodding respectfully to Lysanther. "Ambassador. We came as soon as we got your message." Chen hadn't sent any message. He looked at Lysanther, confused. "I called them," the coordinator said, "because what I'm about to tell you requires the presence of those who passed the trials. You 5 represent humanity to the sovereignty. You need to hear this together." They gathered around Chen's desk, tension rising. Lysanther's form dimmed, a sign of seriousness. 3 days ago, our long-range sensors detected a new civilization on the verge of developing faster than light travel. They are located in a region of space we call the Outer Reach. Initial analysis suggests they are technologically advanced but socially fractured. They have weapons capable of self-destruction. They do not know we exist. They're like we were, Dr. Okoye said quietly. Precisely, Lysanthère confirmed. And the council must decide whether to make contact, observe from a distance, or wait until they find us on their own. This is always a difficult decision. But in this case there's a complication. He activated a holographic display showing the species in question. They were bipedal, but distinctly non-human, with features that suggested both reptilian and avian characteristics. They call themselves the Zarkai, Lysanthère continued. And according to our analysis, their civilization is following a trajectory remarkably similar to humanity's. Aggressive territorial expansion, environmental degradation, technological advancement outpacing social development. They are, in many ways, what humanity was before you were contacted. You want us to make first contact, Zara said, understanding dawning. The council wants humanity to make first contact, Lysanthère corrected. You would lead the diplomatic mission. You would conduct the trials. You would judge whether the Zarkai are ready to join the sovereignty. The delegation exchanged glances. 6 months ago they'd been the ones being judged. Now they were being asked to become judges. Why us? Professor Volkov asked. Surely more experienced species would be better suited? More experienced species would apply standards developed over millions of years, Lysanthère said. They would be too strict or too lenient. But humanity? You remember exactly what it's like to be in the Zarkai's position. You remember the fear, the hope, the desperation to prove yourselves. That empathy, combined with your recent experience, makes you ideal. This is a test, isn't it? Chen said. Not for the Zarkai. For us. The council wants to see if humanity can responsibly wield the authority we've been given. Lysanthère didn't deny it. Every responsibility is a test. Every choice is a judgment. The question is whether humanity is ready to guide others the way you were guided. Lucas looked troubled. What if we make the wrong decision? What if we judge them too harshly or too leniently? Then you will learn from your mistake, Lysanthère said simply. That is how growth happens. But I do not believe you will make the wrong decision. You understand something that older species have forgotten. Judgment is not about perfection. It is about potential. Dr. Okoye stood pacing the office. If we accept this, we're taking on enormous responsibility. The fate of an entire species rests on our evaluation. Yes, Lysanthère agreed. Just as your species' fate rested on our evaluation 6 months ago. The difference is that you know exactly how high the stakes are. That knowledge will inform your judgment. Zara looked at her team, her friends, and saw the same mixture of fear and determination she felt. They'd come so far together. From Earth's first deep space mission to representatives of humanity before the galaxy. Now they were being asked to take another step. Can we have time to discuss this? She asked. Of course, Lysanthère said. You have 24 hours to decide. If you accept, you depart in 1 week. If you decline, the council will assign another species to conduct first contact. After Lysanthère left, the 5 humans sat in silence for several minutes. Finally, Professor Volkov spoke. I've been thinking about something Coordinator Lysanthère said during our trials. He told us that 17 species had been eliminated before they could spread beyond their planets. 17 civilizations wiped from existence because they failed the tests. That haunts me, Dr. Okoye admitted. What if one of them could have contributed something wonderful to the galaxy? What if they just needed more time, more guidance, more understanding? Or what if they would have become a threat? Lucas countered. We can't forget that the trials exist for a reason. Not every species is ready for the responsibility of galactic citizenship. But who are we to judge? Chen asked. 6 months ago we were the ones being evaluated. Now we're supposed to evaluate others? That's an incredible responsibility. Zara stood and walked to the viewport, looking down at Earth. Her home, humanity's home, the planet that had birthed a species now trusted with guiding others. Maybe that's exactly why we're the right choice, she said slowly. We remember what it was like to be judged. We remember the fear of failing, of not being good enough. We remember how much it meant when the council saw our potential instead of just our flaws. She turned to face her team. If we do this, we can't judge the Zarkai the way we were afraid of being judged. We have to judge them the way Lysanthère judged us, looking for potential, not perfection. Looking for the willingness to grow, not the absence of flaws. You're saying we should accept? Professor Volkov asked. I'm saying we should do for the Zarkai what the council did for us. Give them a fair chance, Zara replied. Not an easy chance but a fair one. Test their courage, ingenuity, and resolve. But remember that those qualities don't always look the same across species. We need to be wise enough to recognize them even when they're expressed differently. Dr. Okoye nodded slowly. And if they fail? If we determine they're not ready? Then we give them the same choice the Council gave us, Chin said. Time to develop on their own with the knowledge that the galaxy exists and is waiting for them. Not elimination. Never elimination unless they're a clear threat. But patience. So we're doing this? Lucas asked. They looked at each other. 5 humans who'd faced the galaxy's judgment and survived, now being asked to become the judges. We're doing this, Zara confirmed. Not because we're perfect but because we understand imperfection. Not because we know all the answers but because we remember what it's like to search for them. 24 hours later they gave Coordinator Lysanther their answer. 1 week later the Unity vessel Herald's Promise departed from Station Unity, carrying humanity's first independent diplomatic mission to an unknown species. Zara commanded the ship. Chin led the diplomatic effort. Dr. Okoye prepared the scientific evaluation. Lucas designed the technical trials. Professor Volkov would assess the Zarkai's cultural and philosophical readiness. As Earth grew smaller in the viewport, Zara addressed her team one final time before they entered faster-than-light travel. 6 months ago we left Earth not knowing if we'd return. We faced judgment from beings far more advanced than ourselves. We were terrified. But we were also hopeful. We believed humanity deserved a chance. She paused, looking at each of them. Now we carry that same responsibility to another species. We're the ones conducting the trials. We're the ones who will judge whether the Zarkai joined the galactic community. That's terrifying in a different way. But here's what I believe. Humanity earned its place among the stars not by being perfect, but by being authentic. By showing courage in the face of fear. By demonstrating ingenuity when confronted with impossible problems. By maintaining resolve even when offered easier paths. If the Zarkai demonstrate those same qualities regardless of how different they are from us, then they deserve the same chance we got. And if they don't, we owe them honesty, not destruction. We guide them toward readiness rather than eliminating them from existence. We're not perfect judges, she concluded. But we're judges who remember being judged. And maybe that's the most important qualification we could have. The ship leaped into faster-than-light travel, carrying humanity's representatives toward an encounter that would define not just the Zarkai's future, but humanity's role in the galaxy. Behind them, Earth continued its transformation. Cities powered by clean energy. Ecosystems healing with alien technology. Schools teaching children about the thousands of species in the sovereignty. Humanity growing into its role as galactic citizens. Above Earth, Station Unity orbited, a symbol of cooperation between humanity and the cosmos. And throughout the galaxy, thousands of species watched humanity's progress with interest. Some with skepticism. Some with hope. All with curiosity about what this young, passionate, imperfect species would do next. The trials had been passed. The judgment had been rendered. Humanity had earned its place among the stars. Now came the harder part, proving that the galaxy's faith in humanity was justified. But if there was one thing humans had demonstrated throughout their entire history, it was this. They never stopped trying to be better than they were. And in a vast galaxy filled with ancient civilizations who'd long ago achieved perfection, that quality of continuous striving, that refusal to accept limitation, that passionate determination to grow, perhaps that was humanity's greatest gift to the cosmos. Not perfection but the beautiful, messy, magnificent struggle toward it. And as the Herald's Promise carried humanity's first independent mission into the unknown, that struggle continued. The story of humanity among the stars had only just begun.